NASA has finally revealed the first images taken by the new James Webb Space Telescope, and the results are breathtaking. These unprecedented images beautifully show our universe in a way we've never seen before. These images' level of detail and clarity confirm that the observatory will be revolutionizing our understanding of the universe. But what does each individual image show? Watch this video to find out. First, let's look at the deep field. President Joe Biden, along with Vice President Kamala Harris and NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, held a press conference before all the other images were unveiled. That's when people around the world got their first look at what JWST can do. This image was deemed so important to humanity that the president decided to release it before NASA's own event. According to NASA, this image is the deepest infrared picture of the universe yet. It took 12.5 hours to capture, which may sound like a lot, but Hubble took weeks to take a similar picture. The image captures so many galaxies, most of them more than 4.5 billion years old. But compared to the rest of the universe, it's barely a drop in the bucket. If you held a single grain of sand at arm's length pointed at the night sky, the size of the sky you'd block is what's in this picture. One of the coolest things we can see in this picture is SMACS 0723, a massive galaxy cluster with a gravitational field so large it bends the light coming from other galaxies around it. The growing spiky things visible are stars from our own galaxy that are in the way. The spiking is caused by diffraction. The cool thing about JWST is that it lets us see farther back into the past than we ever have before. Some of the galaxies in this image are within 1 billion years of the Big Bang, from the very early days of the universe when only 3 elements existed. Nelson said during the press conference that this image is just the beginning of what we will accomplish with the James Webb Space Telescope. Next up, a better look at the Carina Nebula. NASA held its own press conference to reveal the rest of the images. One of the most striking ones is that of the Carina Nebula. If this image reminds you of the Pillars of Creation, you're not alone. That's because the Pillars image is also of a nebula, the Eagle Nebula. The Carina Nebula is one of the brightest in the sky, along with one of the largest. It's located a whopping 7,600 light-years away from home and sprawls over 300 light-years in length. Taking just a glimpse of what it contains, there's the Eta Carinae, a supergiant star that's currently exploding. There's also Trumper 14, which is one of the youngest examples of a star formation cluster that we know of. This is a violent and turbulent part of the universe. Stars are being born and dying all the time. The Carina Nebula is what's known as a stellar nursery, and Carina is a particularly active one. An astrophysicist at NASA's Goddard Center, Amber Strawn, said that during the live event that this image of the cosmic cliff of the Carina Nebula shows many new details, like completely new stars that we couldn't see before. There's so much going on here, she said. It's beautiful. We also got a look at a dying star. Coming to things a little closer to Earth, we have a picture of the Southern Ring Nebula, which is around 2,000 light-years from our planet. The Southern Ring Nebula is an example of a planetary nebula, which is a dying star surrounded by a constantly expanding gas cloud. At this stage in its life, the dying dwarf star at the center has lost its outer layers completely and is releasing an insane amount of ultraviolet radiation. It's also unimaginably hot. That's why we see the light around it. The heat and radiation are making the surrounding gas light up. The new thing we've already seen in this image is that star in this nebula is a binary star. We sort of knew this already, but before the James Webb, we couldn't see the actual star at all. We see kind of a surprise for us, said Carl Gordon, an astronomer from the Space Telescope Science Institute. He said that because of the depth offered by the MIRI, the JWST's new infrared instrument, we can see the star glowing red behind all the dust. The image also showcases the shells in the nebula that the gas forms. And there's a new picture of Stephan's Quintet too. The last image that NASA has released so far showcases Stephan's Quintet. Stephan's Quintet is made up of 5 different galaxies that are close enough to each other to be grouped as one entity. This one is really, really far, located about 290 million light-years away in the Pegasus constellation. 4 of these 5 galaxies are in constant motion relative to each other. One that will one day cause them to collide together and form a larger galaxy. 3 of these 4 have long, elongated spirals that have resulted from this cosmic dance. The ages of stars that the quintet holds range across hundreds of millions of years. Giovanna Giardino, with the European Space Agency, said that this image in particular is very important for us because it lets us analyze the interactions between galaxies that cause them to evolve over time. Scientists can now get an up-close look at this interaction and how it affects the gas distributed in the system. But wait, it's not just images that James Webb has given us. Finally, the team at NASA released another piece of data, this time not an image at all, but an exoplanet spectrum, mapping the different light wavelengths that it emits. The exoplanet in question is WASP-96b. WASP-96b is a gas giant much like our very own Jupiter, but only around half the size. It has an orbit of just 3.4 days, which means a year on this planet is less than 4 of our Earth days. The atmosphere is almost entirely made up of sodium. Out of all the celestial objects JWST has looked at that have been publicly released, WASP 96b is by far the closest, and it's only 1,150 light-years away. Scientists have long been perplexed by WASP 96b since its discovery back in 2013. There's a lot of things that make this planet stand out. For example, it's the only planet we know of that doesn't have clouds. Now, because of the powerful instruments on the James Webb Space Telescope, scientists will be able to look at the exoplanet in a level of detail that no one could have imagined. Nicole Colon, another astrophysicist with NASA's Goddard Center, mentioned during the stream that the spectrum looks like just a bunch of bumps and wiggles to most people. But the data that these bumps and wiggles represent is the real treasure. These bumps indicate the presence of water vapor on this planet, what scientists widely believe to be one of the blueprints for life. And this is just a taste of what JWST's new NIRISS instrument can do. In the coming days, JWST will be taking a lot more spectrum data. About 70% of its mission will be spent looking at planetary spectrums. Finally, how did scientists working on these telescopes react to the images? Humanity as a whole feels humbled and awestruck at the sight of these images and data. But what about the people that have been working for years to ensure the observatory was a success? It's been a long, rocky road for the team working on the James Webb Space Telescope. The JWST is a joint project between NASA, the ESA, and the CSA. By the time it launched last Christmas, the project had already been delayed several times and was billions of dollars over budget. At one point, because of the exponentially rising costs, the project was about to be canceled entirely. So, finally seeing the launch and the calibration of the telescope go even better than anticipated has been incredibly relieving for the scientists that made this happen. John Matter, one of the senior project scientists for the JWST, said, "I'm thrilled and relieved." He said that when you work at something this big, there's always that possibility that something will go wrong. So, to see that it did work and seeing the first images come in is something the whole team is very proud of. Bill Nelson said during the White House press conference that NASA takes dreams and turns them into reality, and that the team was just getting started. Thomas Zerbuchin, associate administrator, talked about how this moment was historic. He mentioned the decades of work and perseverance it took to get to this point, and how proud he was of the entire team working on Webb. Greg Robinson, the program director for Webb at NASA's headquarters, said that NASA is elated to be celebrating such an extraordinary day with the rest of the world. He said that the incredible detail of Webb's data and pictures will be fueling our study of the universe for years. The Webb team all feel proud of themselves, and rightly so. The hard part is behind them, but the exciting work is only just the beginning. That's a wrap for this video. What did you think about the James Webb Space Telescope images? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.